let me ask you, how do we start our own healthcare business the easy way?
Well, one way we do that is by providing lifetime support for people. Because, folks, if you start your own business on your own, you don't really have a support team. You don't have anybody backing you up. Somebody you can pick up the phone and ask a question, even while you're talking to a doctor. Step out in the hall and call us. We're always there to answer your questions, and it's lifetime support, which is unheard of in this industry, Eric.
Yeah.
You know that.
Right.
There are other companies who have ways for people to get qualified to be a medical biller, courses online and books and things like that. But nobody has lifetime support. Very important. You don't want just a year or 2 years because, well, as you know, we have licensees that have been with us for 10, 15 years that are still asking us questions and passing by their practice analysis so we can brainstorm with them. That's a very important part of this business, is always keeping up with what's changing in the industry.
You bet. But then, Patrick, I'm sure in people's minds that they've already seen this from our website, maybe even heard from our other webinars, but we don't have any franchise fees. We don't have like any royalty fees. And so really, I think we're going to get into how does ABS stay afloat without having any of these things that we're talking about here. No additional user fees or support fees, software upgrades, clearinghouse fees. You know, Patrick, this kind of gets people's heads scratching.
Yeah, and it's because of the fact that we have those ancillary services, folks. We actually have a revenue source beyond the licensing fee that you pay to go through our training and become certified. This is other money that you will make on all these other services that we make a few pennies on all those transactions. And those pennies add up pretty fast when you've got, hundreds of people nationwide doing this for thousands of doctors.
Yeah, so folks, on the back end, we're making a few pennies off of every transaction that's going through the iClaim platform. And so, Patrick, in a sense, this actually helps people think, wow, okay, they're going to be invested in me by making sure that I'm going to get doctors as clients.
Well, it's a win-win situation for everybody. You folks, as you become licensees and are out there building your business, are making money. We are making money from our technology partners behind the scenes. You don't pay us anything now. These pennies I'm talking about, they come from our technology partners on the back end, kind of like a rebate check to a car dealer that you never know about, but they do make money on the car beyond what you see on the invoice. Same way here, folks. We're making money on the back end. That keeps us in business. Well, we've been here for 25 years. It'll keep us here for another 25 at least.
Yeah, there you go. And it's going to be through all of these, like you said, all of these ancillary services that we're talking about here. Every one of these is part of our technology and our technology partnerships that we have. And so we're supporting you, helping you get doctors and getting those doctors signed up on that. Obviously, you're making your money right from the doctor, and then on the back end from our technology and technology partners, ABS is making on the back end, which frees franchise fees up. You don't have to worry about those, any royalties. Patrick, there's not even any percentages that we're asking our licensees to give us back, even after they're making all these transactions.
No, as you'll learn, folks, we teach you how to price your services, but what you'll basically be doing is making a percentage of all the money that you bring in for the doctor's office. So if they're collecting $100,000 a month, and you're collecting that for them, I should say, and you're making, let's say, 6% of that, that's $6,000 a month for you just for helping them collect that. And of course, Eric, people don't realize that we're making the doctor a whole lot more money and saving them money over doing the billing themselves. So it's a win-win for them as well.
Yeah, we're going to be getting to that obviously this afternoon. So folks, before we leave this little section here, because what Patrick and I are going to do, we're going to look over about 3 different sections of support that you're going to be getting from us that actually helps you create this ease of doing business with us here at ABS and getting all that. So, oh, you look so much better.
Well, I thought just maybe stopping my camera and restarting it might readjust that color. That was weird. I did not do that on purpose.
That was awesome. Okay, great. So first of all, Patrick, some of these folks that want to get in business, they actually need to know how they're going to get a doctor.
Yes, and folks, that's what we're good at. I have to boast here a little bit, Eric, that when I first went out there, my wife started doing billing in the late 80s. Yeah, that far back. And we did not know what we were doing. I spent a lot of time, a lot of money. I can tell you exactly how not to go out and try to sign up a doctor. But
Right.
we've learned after 25 years of tweaking this system that we have exactly what it takes to engage with doctors in your area. And believe
Right.
me, it has nothing to do with sending out letters or knocking on doors. Folks, this is a specific way of engaging with doctors through the people in your community that are already connected to the doctors. That's the
Yep.
best way, referrals, right? And of course,
Yeah.
it starts here in our live training workshop where we teach you about a dozen different ways that we have found works to go out and market to doctors. And we'll cover a little bit of that here, Gores, as we go along.
Yeah, and obviously we've got a training workshop that's coming up pretty soon. So I know that there's a few folks that are on here that may be trying to think, can I get to that class? And folks, so we do have this class coming up in September. We'll talk a little bit about that, but it really does start right there. And again, we're going to go over through every one of these sections here, whether it's iClaim or EMRX or Quick Collect. Again, what's going to help you get your foot in the door or get this dialogue going. Sometimes, Patrick, it may not even be with the doctor. It may be with the doctor's CPA or, like you said, their banker or somebody else.
Sure. And by the way, all this marketing material, of course, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars literally designing, testing, and making sure that this looks professional and tells the right story and all looks like it's integrated, as you can see. So this is already pre-designed. You get over 2,000 pieces of this materials, and you can personalize it with your own logo and, of course, contact information and company name and so forth right there on those brochures. They're full color, slick looking, very nice. And of course, we got postcards and a lot of other marketing materials that we've spent money on as well. But there's a selection there of those that you get started with.
You bet. Now, folks, before we get too much further in the webinar, let me also remind you that we'd love to hear some questions from you. So if we get to a section here that you've got a question about or something comes up in your mind, and don't be afraid to not type in that question there. We certainly want to be able to hear you. But obviously, Patrick, okay, now I've got a piece of paper or something that's going to help me maybe engage with somebody to start talking with a doctor. And then all of a sudden, I may end up in front of a doctor. I'm brand new out of training class. Gosh, how am I going to sound intelligent in front of that doctor?
Well, one way is we've developed what's called a practice analysis. Think of it this way. When you go to see the doctor asks you questions about what's wrong with you and why you're there. He will maybe poke you and look into different orifices and is trying to figure out what's wrong. We do the same thing. We do an intensive analysis of their practice. I think we're showing 3 pages here. We've actually expanded that, I think, now to 4. We've got lots of questions that you can ask the doctor. We go through this in detail, step by step, question by question, telling you why we asked the question, what it means. We let you ask questions about the questions, and then we tell you what answers you probably can receive. So it's a very detailed way of finding out what is wrong. So if a doctor just starts out by saying, which they used to do for me, Eric, when I would talk to a doctor, well, what do you charge? What kind of money are you talking about here? I go, well, Dr. Jones, it would be just like me coming to you with a pain inside my stomach, and I just ask you right off the bat, what are you going to charge to fix that? I don't know until I find out what's wrong with your practice. Maybe it's just fine. Maybe you're doing better than you even think you are. I'm going to show you that on a report that I bring to you after I take this back to the office and get these answers from your office manager or yourself.
Patrick, before we leave this section here, Nadia is asking the question about, and it's a legitimate question, what are the top 3 ways you found to be effective in getting clients? You want to touch on that? I know we've got a complete webinar on all that, so I thought you could just kind of give your insight there real quickly.
Well, here's what it boils down to. Doctors want to do business, just like you do, with people they know, like, and trust. We're going to show you how that we have ways of building that trust. One of the ways, of course, is to be introduced to that doctor by someone in your community. We're going to show you how to connect with people who already do business with doctors and that will refer you to those doctors. That's one of the key ways, what we call business networking, your own warm market, the people that you know. We're going to show you how to engage with people you know, not to sell them anything, of course, but to help them realize what you can do for doctors that they know. And then we're going to build your credibility and the trust factor by showing you a book that you can put your name on the front cover. We do that for you as a part of your license to make you a co-author with a doctor who's written a book. Yeah, that's one of the powerful ways that we do that. I'd say the third way that we do that, Eric, out of all the different ways that we teach people to market, is to do the live demo for the doctor. That's one of the ways we have, and we'll talk about that here a little bit as well. This is the practice analysis review, we call it. It's the report that's produced after you've done the practice analysis that you just saw. We teach you to come back to your computer, put this into software that we have that generates this report. And Eric, it's their numbers, so they can't argue with them, right? We put their numbers in, and out comes this report that shows them bottom line that we can do a whole lot more for them than they thought. Look, in this particular practice, their revenue was about $17,000 a month. We're going to boost that according to the figures they gave us and what we're going to charge them and so forth by $10,000 a month. $27,000 a month is what they could have coming in. Now, no doctor could sneeze at that. They've got to at least pause and say, wow, that might be something I ought to look into. So this report that you bring back to the doctor and show it to them, it does all the selling for you, folks. You can't sell doctors on this. You have to convince them from their own numbers that this is something that could increase their revenue. Then they're interested.
Yeah, and this takes us away from being software salespeople.
Right.
I think there's a lot of people get kind of caught up on the whole aspect of iClaim, which the system in and of itself is really superior than any other platform out there.
Yeah.
But if we kind of focus so much on the software and we lose track here, then again, we just fall in this big pool of where everybody else is trying to sell software. But when we get here, it sounds like and it looks like we're trying to sell the doctor basically their money.
Even if we were way off on this particular report here and could only save them, increase their revenue per year, $60,000, that'd still be worth looking into, wouldn't it? And that's the way doctors look at it as well. Okay, and we'll even show you how you can tell doctors, look, if I don't do what I say I'm going to do for you or get anywhere close to this, you can fire me. You can walk away at any time. We don't lock them into anything long term. Why? Because if they like you, they'll stay with you. If they don't, why would you want them to stay with you?
You bet. Patrick, before we get off of this and not too far from those other ancillary services, Catrice is asking, she goes, I know billing is only for the medical industry, but can some of the businesses use some of the other ancillary services?
Wow. Catrice, we don't have a whole lot of people that have that kind of insight on one of these webinars, but you are absolutely right. There are at least 4 of those ancillary services you just saw that can be marketed outside the medical field. One of them, for example, is AutoCard. That's where you can help businesses to increase their repeat business from their customers and thank their customers through an automated online system that you can offer to them to get them more and more business. So yes, the answer is yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And Dewanja is asking, it looks like the hardest and time-consuming thing would be getting clients. Your system sounds like it would work best for single physicians and not groups. And we know that there are not too many of those practices left, at least in New Jersey. What has been our experience? Patrick, do you want to answer that one?
Well, you know what? We have ways of searching in your area for the private practices that are out there. And I'll bet you that there's a whole lot more private practices than you think there are that you don't even know about. So that's part of our training. That's part of our marketing training, is to teach you how to locate those practices. Now, let me say this, though. Next week, I'm aiming, Eric, to interview somebody who's been with us 10 years. Yes. Who actually has a client group that's like 27 doctors. So, and we see them all the time. Believe me, licensees, now you don't want to do that on your very first client. That would be a tough one to get up and running if you don't have any experience. But once you've done a few private practices, 1 to 6 doctors, let's say, then we'll show you how you can go after these bigger groups in your area and sign up groups of 27 to 50.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So you can do single or group. We've done it. We've helped folks get that. So you bet. A part of our support, again, on this whole marketing part of it, Patrick, really kind of starts with what's called our licensee support site. Now, nobody on the webinar today has access to this. It's for just our licensees, but let's kind of talk through this and really how this is helpful of getting that first demo set up you mentioned.
Yeah, you know, folks, we have a private, you're looking at it here, the private website. We'll show you a little bit more detail here in just later, but we're kind of showing you that you can go straight to your own private website for licensees once you've gone through our training and actually sign up for a live demo of our system. Now, folks, there's nothing more powerful than to show the doctor the technology behind what you're going to do for them. Well, guess what? You don't have to do that. We have people full-time that's all they do is do these live demos using GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting, just like we're doing today. And we show the doctor live exactly what they need to do to get up and running on our system. So this is the form that you'd actually fill out on that site. Once you've pushed the button and given us a couple of dates and times there, behind the scenes, we just set it all up for you. And yeah. So this live demo, Eric, you've done some of these, of course, yourself even. They're just fantastic. The doctors just go nuts when they first see our system live, don't they?
You bet. And the great thing about it, you mentioned that I get to do some of these, and I'm actually doing one tomorrow afternoon for one of our licensees. It's his first one that he's doing. Obviously, your first one that you're doing is you're always a little bit nervous and making sure that it goes smoothly. But folks, this is what we do. You know, we're here like what we're doing today on our webinar. You would be there with the doctor. You know, you may not even be there at the doctor. Sometimes you can get doctors that are not even in your own city or state. Gosh, they could be in, but with our technology of GoToMeeting, we can do this, demonstrate this, and just show the doctors right there. And Patrick, you know, this was ingenious of what we put together, because we can take somebody who's brand new in medical billing with us here, and the next week they could be doing a demo, but we're answering the questions because we've got that 24, 25 years of experience in this field.
Yeah, and Eric, if I remember correctly here recently, we were told by the technology company that we're closing about half of all those demos that we do. In other words, half of the doctors that see these instantly engage with our licensees and want to do business with them. Some of them later on, even with the correct follow-up system that we have in place for doctors, you'll see that even 6 months or a year down the line, they'll call you up and say, hey, I'm ready. We'll keep your name in front of them so that you're the one that they think of when they do decide that they want to switch and update their system.
You bet. You bet. All right. So what we're going to do is just take you on a little tour with some screenshots here of some of the things that we're going to tell them and show them. So we're going to show them how we can take their current patient demographics, all their data, and take it out of their existing one and then bring it over here to ours. Then we're going to show them, Patrick, this has to be the number one thing that gets a doctor to change. And that is when we can take and show the doctor that we can guarantee that doctor is going to get paid by that patient, because we're going to check their insurance eligibility in real time. And not only we're going to check that in real time, we can populate that entire patient chart from that patient's insurance company into the system. And Patrick, this takes out a lot of that typing, and if any of this information, yes, if we can eliminate that, the amount of the percentage that goes up to help these doctors recoup their money is astronomical. And this is, Patrick, I've literally had people or doctors stop me right here and say, Eric, I've seen what I need to see. I'm ready to move. I'm ready to move because I recognize what you have is going to get me to those numbers that you showed me earlier in that practice analysis report.
Well, imagine if a doctor sees, 100 patients a week, let's say, and even a small percentage of those, 3 or 4%, don't have the coverage that they thought they did. They can see the doctor can spend the time with them, and then the patient, if the patient doesn't have insurance, it's not going to be paid probably by the patient for some time. I mean, that falls into that 15% that they never collect. So folks, by doing that eligibility check before they even see the doctor, we know, and the doctor knows, that they're going to get paid on that patient. Plus, we haven't even talked about this, Eric, because we have so much that we try to cram into these webinars, and we've done whole webinars on this. talking about the rejection rate nationwide, it's about 34% of all claims that are first submitted to insurance companies and to Medicare are rejected. Now, guess what happens with those claims when they're rejected? They come back to the office, and the office has way too much going. They got another 20 claims to do tomorrow. So they're not spending the time to follow up on those. Well, with our system, because of the leading edge technology that's built into it, the eligibility check and all the other things we have, that rejection rate drops to 2%.
And you know what's so
down to 2%.
And you know what's so interesting, Patrick? So far, I don't know if anybody's picked up on this. We haven't talked one time about a medical code. So we're not talking about medical coding here. We're talking about revenue cycle management. We're talking about managing the doctor's money from the time that that patient walks in to the time that that patient walks out the door. And speaking of anything that has to do with codes, this is where we can show the doctor using our EMRX platform that the system for the doctor only, not the biller, not you, but the doctor can see exactly how the patient, as they see them, this system, Patrick, will do the coding for the doctor. I mean, this is great.
That blows the doctors away too, because that's the biggest problem they have is either they have to work with a certified medical coder, which is very expensive to do, or they have to know those codes themselves, which they don't have time to know. They just introduced a couple of years ago a whole new set of codes that quadrupled the number of codes that they have to know about. Well, we've got it all built in, and it's all kept up to date by our set of certified medical coders behind the scenes, so that when the doctor is using the system, he can be assured that those are the latest codes that he should be using. And believe me, it can increase their revenue considerably if they're coding correctly.
That's right. Patrick, I don't know if you saw this. I was doing some research on finding those couple of articles that we looked at earlier. And one of the things that I saw is that they've just approved the ICD-10-11s. So who knows who knows what's about to happen here. All these new codes that these doctors have learned could be changing here. And so the doctors need a system in which they can get this information and not have to worry about it. So, you know, Patrick, from the beginning of this webinar to where we are now, we're about 35 minutes into this thing. We spent our time talking about actually just what we do, ABS does, to help folks that want to become licensees of ABS, how we help them get a client. And Patrick, we've invested the time here in the beginning. Just imagine how much time and effort we're going to help once they become a licensee with us.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to make sure that's our goal. In fact, we tell them when they come to the training workshop, folks, our goal is to get you your first client as quickly as possible once you leave this class. Now, some people do that in the first 30 days. Some people take 6 months to do that. It just depends on how much time they put into it. But the point is, folks, we can help you get that first client. And once you do, Eric, I interview licensees all the time that tell me, Patrick, I did what you told me to do. I got my first client, and I've never done any marketing since then. And, you know, they have 40, 50 clients. Why? Because this is a referral business. If you do a good job for a doctor, they will tell other doctors out on the golf course, at the country club, at their church or synagogue. They talk, and they're thrilled that you've solved their cash flow problem and helped them stay in private practice. So they will share that, and you'll grow from referrals.
You bet. Patrick, Nadia is asking a question here. She's asking you, I'm a registered nurse. Does this background help me in this business?
Oh, well, you know what? It never hurts to have any kind of medical background. In fact, in the class, I always ask at the very beginning, you've heard me do this, Eric. I say, now, folks, how many of you have a background in the medical field, anything to do with medical? And we'll have a few hands, 2 or 3, maybe in a class of 20, raise their hands. Now, how many of you actually have specifically done medical billing? Only about 1 or less usually raise their hand that have done that. So any background, of course, is going to be helpful because you can relate more to the doctor, to the office manager, or whatever. But folks, you don't have to have that background. In fact, some of the people, I'll be interviewing a lady next week, I hope, Tierney Martins, you know her, Eric, out in California, and she's been with us almost 10 years. She had no background whatsoever in the medical field. So it can be done. She's got a huge business with like 50 or 60 clients. I can't even keep up with it.
Yeah, she's grown a big business. Fernando, you asked to clarify, would we be handing eligibility and benefit checks for doctors? Fernando, and the actual, excuse me, as part of the doctor's revenue management, you got to make sure that the doctor is actually going to get paid. And one of those ways is through eligibility. But the great thing about it is, if you haven't seen a live demonstration of our software already, I certainly encourage you to do that, because you're going to see how this eligibility is done in real time, and it's going to be done automatically. So it's nothing that you're having to do manually. The system's actually doing it for the doctor on their side. You're just giving them a platform in which they can be able to do that. All right, so now that we've got a doctor, hopefully now, Patrick, we've gone through all the things here. You know, here's kind of gets the scary part. How am I going to know actually how to do billing?
Well, that's the interesting part. And you know what? The great thing is, folks, that we start out on day one in the class, giving you hands-on experience. We bring in laptops. You'll see them when you first walk in. And during the day, we open those up. We log into our online cloud-based system, and everybody is actually using our system to do medical billing. There's a couple of forms that we'll go through during the class that you'll learn a little bit more about, the patient information form, and then, of course, there's what's called the super bill. Those two forms is all it takes for you to know how to take that data that the patient's filled in and put it into our system. In the same way with the other form, the super bill, that comes from the doctor, and it will tell you exactly what codes to put into the system to bill for that doctor. Man, that was a delay in that animation, wasn't it?
Yeah. just a little bit. Now, folks, what we're going to do, again, Patrick says that we've got those laptops there, and what you're looking at right now is exactly what you're going to be looking at there in that training workshop, and we're going to show you exactly how to use this system and create a claim right here in iClaim.
Yeah, it's actually, folks, much easier. In fact, I tell people, look, this is not brain surgery. You don't have to worry about that. You might be doing the billing for a brain surgeon, but this is not something that's that hard. In fact, my wife, Linda, was brought into a medical office and taught how to do medical billing in about 2 days' time. So that's not the difficult part in starting this business. The difficult part is knowing how to engage with doctors, how to get them interested enough to do the practice analysis, and then how to make a proposal to them that makes sense to them, and get them up and running and trained. And folks, we do all that for you. That's part of our support for our licensees, is to go through that step by step with you and with the doctor.
Yeah. Now, I'm hoping I'm saying your name correctly. Abina is asking, Patrick, can I do this for a doctor in the West Coast if I'm physically on the East Coast?
You can do it for doctors anywhere in the United States. That includes Alaska and Hawaii, because, folks, all the billing is the same in every state. There are no rules or regulations that are different. Once you've done billing for a doctor here in the West Coast or the East Coast, either one, you can also do it for anybody else. And that will happen. Folks, we have licensees that have clients all over the United States. And the way that happens is you might be doing billing for a doctor locally, but that doctor knows another doctor in another state. And we'll show you that without even having to travel to that other doctor, you can get that doctor up and running and do their billing as well. They don't care where you're at doing it, as long as you're doing it well. And if you're referred by another doctor, they just go, sign me up. Eric, I'll never forget the licensee who told us on one of my interviews. She said, I saw this fax come in. This was back when fax machines, I guess, were big. She pulls up the fax. It's a contract that she had signed with one of her current clients from another doctor that had gotten that from that doctor, marked out that doctor's name and put their own name on there and signed it. They were just ready to go. That's how easy it is.
Yeah, you bet. Now, also, we really talked real briefly about the ancillary services, and I think we're going to kind of go through a few of those here. But again, these are some of those aspects of billing, or helping the revenue management of that doctor go through, and one of them could be quick collect. Now, Patrick, I get a lot of questions about this medical billing part of it. Am I going to become a collection agency?
No, that's one of the fears people have, is I'm going to have to get on the phone and call little Mrs. Jones and say, hey, you owe $20 to Dr. Smith, pay up. That is not what this is all about, folks. This is an automated online system that does all that for you. And as it says here, many practices have a hard enough time collecting on the front end. However, Quick Collect can replace the practice's need for a collection agency. During the training, you'll learn how this service automatically, did you get that? Automatically collects past due accounts for doctors, and is similar to a collection agency with some key differences. The big key difference is that, now this is a shocker when I first learned this statistic, Eric, only 14% of all the money that is owed to doctors by patients is collected by collection agencies. This system collects 41% of that money. So it's a huge increase in revenue for doctors using this.
Patrick, before we get off too far, again, Kenneth is asking a question. He says, Patrick, I understand how the doctor will see ABS when they log into an ancillary service. When just using iClaim, does the doctor do anything online, or is that entirely done by me? So I guess he's asking, does iClaim kind of work for the doctor only, for the licensee only, or does it work for both licensee and the doctor?
Well, it can work for both, but remember, you're the manager of the system, and you can give access to the doctor and his staff, to anybody in the doctor's offices that you want, to certain parts of the system. So they can't get into the system that you can get into. They can get only the part that has to do with their running their practice. For example, we have an online scheduling system that they can use to schedule appointments. That's available to them from any device that's connected to the internet 24/7. So the answer is yes and no. They won't have access. And by the way, I just want to touch on the fact that it seems like Kenneth is indicating maybe that they'll be seeing ABS's name. Our name is nowhere on anything. Folks, you are an independent business owner. You'll start your own company. We'll show you how to pick your own name, get a logo done, and so forth. And so that's all they'll see on all your literature. In our system, they'll see only iClaim's name.
Yep, you bet. Now, CodeRide, Patrick, this is something, again, little scary area for most folks. They think about they're going to have to do medical codes or anything else like that. And what he said, EMRX actually handles the codes, but what if a doctor doesn't use EMRX and they're going to need some coding help?
Well, we have CodeRide, which is a system basically that's an online system that you can scan in some of the doctor's records, patient records, and our certified medical coders behind the scenes actually look at those codes from those patients and see if the doctor used the correct codes or not, and can correct some of that for the doctor to make sure that he's getting paid everything he needs to get paid. He might be underbilling for a lot of patients. And so CodeRide corrects that without you having to know anything about it. You're just offering it as a service. Our certified medical coders are doing it all for you, but you make money on that, of course.
You bet. And I bet you a lot of people don't even know about this next thing, that a doctor could literally be under an audit from any of the insurance companies, including Medicare and Medicaid. But here's a service, Patrick, we've added that can actually help them prevent from being audited.
That's right. They're scared of those audits from Medicare because if they've used a code, let's say, that's overbilled for that particular visit from a patient, then they can get fined up to $10,000 per wrong code. So what we do is we go in and examine a set number of patient records from that doctor and tell him or her exactly what they did right or wrong, and prepare a nice printed full color report that we go over with the doctor that keeps them from worrying about that anytime in the future. Once we've gone through that audit, they'll know what they need to do to correct everything and be clean when they do get audited.
You bet. And I also want to correct myself. It's not that they're going to get prevented from being audited, but it'll help them be prevented from having like the big fees of what you were talking about there. So that's why I wanted to make sure I'm clarified on that as well. All right.
And this is a great one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as it says there in that first sentence, this is a great one for opening the door and getting past the gatekeeper. Sometimes maybe the office manager doesn't want you to even have any contact or get anything to the doctor. Well, we have a way of going in and getting that person's attention with this that gets them involved in wanting to know more about this service. Well, once you're in with one of our services, you're in, right? You've gotten past the glass, I call it, and you're a part of their practice now, helping them in different ways, and then you can bring up the billing and do the practice analysis from them.
You bet. Yeah.
So it is a great door opener. Yeah.
You bet. We've already talked about choice pay because that we kind of talked about that in an earlier part of it. But again, just one of those. But I know this is one that you love to talk about because we don't have.
Paused.
Go ahead.
I think you've paused.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Not yet.
Oh,
well, we don't see choice pay. Oh, there's iDocs now. Okay.
Yep, there was choice pay there, and then we're at iDocs now.
Yeah. Good. Oh, this is a great one here. Now, somebody asked earlier, I forget who it was now, I think I deleted that question, but it had to do with what are the other services that you can offer outside the doctor's office? This is one of them. Folks, we have an online document management system. Documents can be scanned into our system online and accessed by anybody, anywhere in the world, 24/7. It is a perfect way to get rid of all those extra records in a doctor's offices from past patients that they don't have any need to have those records available in paper. We can scan them in here and have it available anytime from anywhere, any device from iDocs Now. We can offer that to schools and insurance companies and anybody that has a lot of paper. It's a great system to market to them.
You bet. Before we get off of kind of talking about money, Nadia is asking again, what medical specialty seems to be most lucrative for your current licensees?
Oh, well, we have a dozen. We have our specialized list of a dozen different specialties that we bring up in the class and hand out to you and go over why those particular specialties. I'll give you a hint. When you do a medical claim, if it's for $75 and you get 6% of that, that's only what? Oh, about $5, $4.50. Okay, well, what if that claim was a $10,000 fee for a surgery? There, right. I gave you the hint, didn't I? It has to do with the doctors that make the most money. And we have that list available to you and show you exactly why you need to go and look for those doctors, not the others. Yeah, you can spend a lot of time on doctors that would not be near as profitable as the ones we're going to point out to you.
You bet.
And I would tell you what that list is. I would tell you what that list is right now, but I don't have it memorized. And besides, I would have to kill you probably. Yeah.
Well, we've got Chris is asking the question, is the system compatible with workers' comp laws? And it certainly is. And one more, Carter, what are some of the things that helps ABS stand out from the medical billing giants such as Athena Health? I'll tell you that right now, Carter. No other billing system out there on the market today, it has their own clearinghouse. Now, the way for you to kind of get that understood is the best thing to do is set up a time to do a live webinar with us, and we'll demonstrate that, or go to a meeting with us, and we'll demonstrate that to you. That is the thing that separates us from, what do you think, the big giants out there like Athena Health.
Yeah, the built-in clearinghouse that we have, folks, makes sure that our claims get accepted. That's why we have a rejection rate of less than 2% versus all the other systems that are out there. All the other medical billing companies are using clearinghouses that reject, like I said, up to 34% of those claims. Yeah. So that means more money in the doctor's pocket, which means more money in your pocket.
Well, it kind of goes along with Dejana. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, but can the system process payments at the time of service and provide payment estimates based upon insurance coverage? And that is true. Since we're in real time, Carter and Dewanja, just think of it that we are connected directly to the insurance company. So we're seeing things in real time between our system and the insurance company. That's really what makes us stand out from everything else there. Patrick, we've got about 9 more minutes here, and we want to kind of get through this last part, which is really one of the biggest things, the easier way of, again, staying with our topic today, of getting started in this business, the easy way, and that's because of the network here that we have here at ABS.
Absolutely, folks. Think of it this way. Could you go into business for yourself and open your own sandwich shop? You know how to make sandwiches, right? You could. So why does Subway and several other sandwich franchises sell thousands of their franchises all over the United States and all over the world? It's because they want to be a part of a network. They want to be something big. You are going to be a part of the nation's largest network of independent, certified medical revenue managers. That means a whole lot to doctors to know that it's not just you. If you're wondering, how do I establish any credibility at first? It's not just you. You have us and our whole network, coast to coast, of people and doctors that are willing to give references and talk to other doctors that you wouldn't have out there on your own. And so that's why this certification at the end of the week is given to you by MERMA, the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. They certify you, and we stand behind you the whole time that you're in business. And it's a tremendous support network for you.
Well, I'm putting that up there because I know that some of these folks are literally working with our licensees, some of them almost full time.
Yeah, these are licensees, just a sampling of some of them that we have from coast to coast, who actually, we as a company engage with them. That is, we contract with them as independent contractors and have them coach you as a new licensee. So see, you're learning from somebody not sitting here in an ivory tower that hasn't been in medical billing since the late 90s, me and my wife, but you have people that are out there actually doing the business that will coach you and teach you how to do it. Folks, the market's that big that nobody cares about competition. Our licensees are not worried about that. They want you to be successful, and we pay them ourselves, not you, to do the coaching and training and holding your hand till you get up and running.
You bet. And then you have Dr. Vicki Rackner. I know that some folks may have heard of Dr. Vicki Rackner because of some of the other webinars that we've done with her, but some people don't know who Dr. Vicki Rackner is. Patrick, why don't you kind of introduce Dr. Vicki Rackner?
Yeah, we have done webinars with Dr. Rackner. If you go to our website, absystems.com, and just go to the blog and scroll down and keep scrolling down until you see something about Dr. Rackner, you'll actually see that webinar where we introduce her and she teaches you what she's going to do to help you build your business. Now, folks, it doesn't get any better than this. Eric, we should be charging a whole lot more money for our license once we engage these people with Dr. Rackner, because it's a part of what you get as a part of your license fee, folks. We've engaged with her. We pay her as a consultant to work with our licensees. She'll introduce you to other doctors through a reference letter that she'll write for you on her letterhead. You will have your name on the cover of books that she and I have written and published. And you've written the foreword to those books. We've already written the foreword, but your name is on there. And boy, folks, it doesn't get any better than this. You've actually partnered with a doctor and can say that to other doctors. Nobody else has that. Very unique. Right.
Very,
Eric,
very.
I'm so sorry. I've got another call coming up here. I got to get ready for. Thank you for coming up with this topic today and wrapping it up for me.
You bet.
I see one of you at one of our upcoming live training workshops. Hey, if you still want in the September when there's a few seats left, just get back with the person who sent you this webinar and tell them I want in that class.
You bet. Thanks so much, Patrick. I appreciate your time.